This is Pete Flitzer. Join us for a conversation with illustrator and artist Z Zhu.
So I have like a bunch of my friends who really love Star Wars too. I was like, hey, can you help me choose which character do you think people would really like?
You're listening to Around the Galaxy.
Welcome to episode number 121 of Around the Galaxy, the Star Wars fan talk show. I am your host, Pete Flitzer. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this week. If this is your first visit with Around the Galaxy, well, welcome aboard. I hope you enjoy the show, and if you do, when you do, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you are always getting the latest and greatest from Around the Galaxy, which now includes a weekly 5-minute Star Wars news journal. So every Saturday morning, you're going to get a brand new feature in your podcast feed called Disturbances in the Force. And what we do there is we capture all the Star Wars news that happened in the previous week, and we don't put a spin on it. We just literally bring you all the brand new news that has hit during the week, and the things that if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to want to know about, the things that you're going to want to keep up with. And we're also going to give a recap of whatever Star Wars show is going on. So in this case, you're also going to get a weekly recap of The Bad Batch. So hopefully you're looking for that in your podcast feed and you're enjoying that. If you are, hey, do me a favor, tell all your friends on social media that you're really digging the Disturbances in the Force, as well as Around the Galaxy, because Around the Galaxy is the weekly 1 hour plus or minus talk show where we talk to super fans and creators and authors and all kinds of great folks who have a Star Wars story to tell. And this week, we're talking to artist and illustrator Z Zhu. Now, Z has been an illustrator for a number of years. She's done work for DC Comics. She's done work for Disney. She's done work for movies, all kinds of different movies, independent films, major films. She has done some poster work for heavy metal icons Metallica. And where the Star Wars fans know her from is she created the mural that appeared on Disney Plus for May the 4th. She created that really exciting, flowing, action-looking banner, and it really became kind of a hotbed of discussion in social media. So we go into that a bit. We talk about her history, and we talk about some of the things that Lucasfilm told her she could and could not do when creating that banner. So I think you're going to find that very, very interesting. So make sure to check that out. Before I let you go, make sure to check out all of our social media at ATGcast, whether it's Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or, yes, even TikTok. You can find us at ATGcast. Check out our website at atgcast.com. And if you want to become a patron and support the show, head to patreon.com/ATGcast. Z, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good today. Thank you.
For the people who don't know you, maybe give us just a real short background on yourself.
Sure. Yeah. So, hey, my name is Z. I was recently the mural artist for this year's May the 4th celebration on Disney Plus. And I got to work with the Lucasfilm team and the Lucasfilm animation team to do the mural art, along with a bunch of other artists from my agency that hired me for the job.
It's pretty exciting. And so let's talk a little bit about your art background and your journey to get to where you were. So you went to school for illustration and art, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. I went to MICA. It's called the Maryland Institute College of Art. It's in Baltimore. And I graduated back in 2018. And it was a pretty small school, but they in terms of the illustration work in it, they primarily focused on editorial illustration for magazines and stuff. And I wish I knew about this beforehand before going, because I didn't really want to do editorial for magazines. I was very big into stuff like movies and games and stuff in entertainment and that sort of stuff. So I think in senior year, I started to pivot my illustration work to doing movie posters and just covers for things, covers for music, covers for games and that kind of stuff. And so after college, I think I was very lucky to be here, because after college, I started getting freelance work in that area. I started meeting a lot of new people in this field, and previously, like doing stuff like movie posters and I think it's like a very niche field. It's kind of like a lot of illustrators don't really know that it's a thing, just because like a lot of movie posters nowadays are like, you use Photoshop images, or you use photo manips, and not a lot of people draw them like officially, that is.
Right. Yep.
But like I kind of was able to kind of carve out a little niche for myself via social media, via like Facebook and like Instagram, that sort of stuff. I started by doing just like a lot of covers for and posters for like my favorite movies. So I liked a lot of like classic movies. I started doing, posters for a lot of that. And yeah, that's kind of how I got started. I started getting a lot of like commissions for like short films. But it wasn't until, I don't think it was until like 2019 or maybe 2020 where I got picked up by my agency, which is Poster Posse. And they're kind of like an agency that does like all the artists on their roster. Like we all do like movie posters, and they basically, pitch their artists to entertainment studios, like movie studios. And then we get hired to do like stuff like official key art or official marketing art. But it's all like art, and it's all like illustrated and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that appealed to me about your work. Once I started to do some research and look at some of your previous work before the Star Wars work, which is of course where I heard of you. But it's got that hand drawn feel to it, and it captures sort of a bit of it looks like, I think that's one of the challenges, and I'd love your thoughts on movie posters in general, because I think, somebody was saying even just today, the Snake Eyes poster came out, right? And for the G.I. Joe movie. And somebody said you could slap the Marvel logo on there and I would believe it's the next Marvel film, because there's a lot of that similarity, that look to the way movie posters are, where they, to your point, they take some photos, they Photoshop it, they do some, I mean, I know enough about Photoshop to be dangerous, but not good. So I understand some of the basics of it. But do you think movie posters are a lost art, or do you think it's still a very compelling way to create a story about the story?
No, I don't think it's a lost art at all. Like I think that I do think that illustrated movie posters are kind of like making a comeback. I really think they have like made a comeback, some 10 years ago or something. But yeah, and even if like, I also use like a lot of photos in my art, but for like certain pieces, especially if I have a tight deadline, I'll just like secretly slap a bunch of photos. And like I've seen a lot of movie posters that are like photo based, photo manipulation based, that are really, really good. But I also like see a lot of them that kind of, just like look the same. And this isn't, I don't know, I don't want to like dig,
sure, of course,
dig on them or anything. But I do like personally, I just really enjoy that like hand painted or like hand drawn aspect.
Yeah. I because it's funny when I think of Star Wars, when somebody gives me says the phrase Star Wars, the first thing that comes to mind for me is that original Hildebrand poster, right? The one with the big Vader helmet and Luke and Leia and all that stuff. And that to me captured a lot of that feel. Who were some of your favorite movie poster artists, and which movie posters are some, when you think of, or even a video game cover or something, what's some of the work that people would go, I remember that one?
Yeah. In terms of movie poster artists, so I take a lot of inspiration from like, 50s illustrators and just like illustrators who worked back then and who worked like mostly by analog, by like painting or by hand. Like someone I really, really dig, Bob Peak. All of his movie posters I really like. In terms of artists that inspired me to go into it, I think I've looked into, I think one of the first like alternative movie poster artists I've discovered was Ollie Moss. I haven't actually heard from him in a while, but like he used to do like these very like simple but very like graphic, almost kind of like Saul Bass inspired posters for movies. But yeah, like his stuff it was just very like smart. Like his use of design was very effective. And so I remember I found out about him in like college, and that's kind of how I started looking into like the whole poster scene, because the whole poster scene is really kind of very niche. You know, it's very small.
Right.
So, and I think like the community is pretty like tight knit too. So yeah, it was kind of just like discovering modern poster artists who were doing like alternative movie covers and that sort of stuff that, you know, led me into this rabbit hole.
Recently, you did a cover for it was a Flash comic, right? A DC comic.
Yeah.
So how do you go about that, and do you approach like a cover for a comic book differently than you might a movie poster?
Yeah, I think it all depends on the client. So with the Flash, that was for DC. Like they hit me up back in December for it, and I sent them like a bunch of sketches. I usually approach like all my illustrations like the same, you know, just like I send them my like one or two ideas I feel really strongly about. But I think for the Flash, what was different was that they actually gave me like the composition beforehand. They were just like, hey, could you do like an illustration of Wally of the Flash with Gold Beetle? Yeah, with Gold Beetle. Like, and she wants to kiss him, but he's kind of like turning away. So they already gave me the composition, and which made my job like a lot easier.
Yeah.
But and then I just kind of like, you know, took it and made it my own and like painted it and all of that.
Now, are you a comic book fan in general, or is that a different type of art for you?
Yeah, I used to be. I had a Batman phase in high school, but it's mostly over now. Like, because now I'm kind of like, I don't know. I have some. I don't want to say bad. Like, I have some opinions about like Marvel and DC right now, but I don't want to like.
Either one could hire you tomorrow, so let's be careful.
Yeah. I mean, I just have some like opinions about how like, you know, the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe and that kind of stuff. But I recently watched Invincible. Yep. Yeah, and I really loved it.
Yeah, there's so, you know, it's a really interesting time to be any of the genre fans, between comic books and comic book movies and science fiction and all these other things. And it's wild to me how I say it all the time, like there's too much. I can't keep up with it. I want to watch all of it, but I can't keep up with it. And it's hard to discover something that's particularly engaging. So it's interesting to hear you say that there's different approaches to the artwork. I'm a very big Metallica fan, and when I saw that you did one of their posters, I was very curious about the process there, because I'll tell you what my perspective was, that bands would find an interesting piece of art illustration and they would pop their logo on it and use it for a poster for an event. But it seems like you were commissioned specifically for that event.
Yeah. So with Metallica, it was, so I had a mentor back in 2019 who introduced me to Nakatomi, which is they're the company that produces all of these tour posters for Metallica and also a bunch of other stuff. So they reached out to me, and they offered me the job as one of the gig poster artists for their tour, back in 2019. And but like I was one of, you know, like many of the artists that were commissioned. But what was really cool about that job was that like every artist would get assigned a city. So my city was Bucharest in Romania, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but
nope, I think you did.
Bucharest. And so we were just to do like a piece of art that would be, you know, displayed at that city's venue and then sold online also. But yeah, so that was like that was actually my first gig poster for a band. But with like Metallica, because they're Metallica, they usually, I think they do like have to approve the art, but they usually just have their agents handle everything.
Right.
Yeah. So like with smaller bands that aren't Metallica,
Right.
they would just, reach out, like email you directly if you're a freelance poster artist, if they want a poster done. But with the bigger bands, yeah, they just get their management to like handle and like oversee everything.
Was there any direction? Did they have a particular theme in mind, or was it just have some fun with it? Look at the style we use, or?
Yeah, it was honestly, it was pretty much like free reign for every artist. So like no theme, just like as long as it like matches kind of like the music
Right.
for Metallica.
So did you? I imagine you sitting there with headphones on, listening to Metallica while you're working on it. What's your approach to something like that?
Yeah, that was like exactly what I did. Yeah, like that's pretty much what I did. It's like and this is like also why I really like working on stuff for entertainment, which is that when I do get like a gig poster for a movie or for a band, like I can just work while like watching the movie or work while just like streaming the band's music. So that's usually what I do. And yeah, and I usually kind of like I don't have like a really like grand set plan for these things.
Right.
Because I kind of just like want to draw what I want to draw. So with Metallica specifically, I was drawing like I wanted to draw like a big eagle like animal, like hybrid griffin like animal, just because I like drawing that kind of stuff. But I also like looked at a bunch of old Metallica posters.
Yep.
And so I was just like, all right, like how do I make my stuff complement Metallica in a way? Just because like previously I hadn't really listened to a lot of Metallica. Like I do really like their music, but they weren't like my go-to band for anything.
Right.
So I looked at a bunch of the previous artists that they were commissioning, what their styles were like, and I kind of just like based my style off of that. But like the imagery that I was drawing from was just like imagery that came to my mind that I wanted to draw at that moment.
Yeah.
Be like a bell, and then I wanted there to be like a nun about to ring the bell, and just like a bunch of skulls and like bones and all of that. So
yeah, that definitely works with the Metallica aesthetic for sure. But it was that's really cool that they give you that much free reign.
This is Jason Fry. You're listening to Around the Galaxy.
So let's talk a little bit about the poster that the people who are listening to my show probably know the most about. It's not posters, illustration. It turned out to be the main banner for Disney Plus on May the 4th. I don't know. Do you know how many subscribers there are to Disney Plus? There's 106 million people who probably saw your artwork on May the 4th.
Oh God!
So,
oh my gosh! Yeah.
So tell me the story of how that project came about, and let's talk a little bit about how you put it together, and then what the impact is on you as an artist to be able to do something like that.
Sure. Yeah. So that was kind of like, okay, so I feel like every artist kind of has their list of dream projects, and so do I. But like, and I mean, I love Star Wars, but like my list of dream projects for like stuff to illustrate for some reason Star Wars, like it never popped up in my head. So I was never hopeful for anything like that big. But yeah, so like I got that job when it was my agency, Poster Posse. They were, they pitched my art along with a bunch of other artists that were in the agency, as well as a lot of artists that they found just like on social media. They pitched our art to Lucasfilm, and like, we got chosen for the gig. And with Lucasfilm, they wanted every artist to choose one it was like one artist would get assigned, each artist would get assigned to like an individual Star Wars film.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then with me, they were just like, hey, do you want to do like the artwork for the mural? So that would be, you know, kind of like the splash art, you know, when you open Disney Plus, like the Star Wars section, they would see your art first, and then, you know, you scroll past and you would see, you know, artwork for like every Star Wars episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of like, oh my God, yes. Like, oh, whoa. And like, I freaked out after. But yeah, like doing that was really, really exciting. It was also really nice because they were, it was another project where Lucasfilm, they kind of just like gave me free reign.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are a few fun facts about that project.
Well, I was going to say, I don't think Lucasfilm and free reign are often in the same sentence.
Okay, so they gave me mostly free reign,
Right, okay.
but they also, I think they gave me like a list of things I could not draw.
Okay.
So it was like I could not draw slave Leia.
Okay.
I couldn't draw Leia in that like in the outfit.
Right.
I couldn't draw. I could not draw Cara Dune.
Okay.
Yeah, I could not draw
Cara
her.
Dune. Yeah.
Cara Dune. So I could not draw from her from The Mandalorian. I think that was like the two most important things.
Uh-huh.
But other than that, they were kind of like, yeah, you know, we wanted to like respect your vision. They didn't want to do what like a traditional movie poster, you know, with like the giant heads and like floating stuff and all of that. They were kind of just like, yeah, you know, just whatever illustration you think of, you know, that's fine by us. So I like kind of put together this mural of, it was like the light side, characters from the light side, characters from the dark side, and then they would kind of be like swirling around each other, you know, yin yang, balance, you know, force, all of that. So so I pitched it, and they really liked it, and so that was how, you know, it got done.
That's great. And so there was enough freedom to be able to bring in, and it looks like it, again, it's interesting. You have people who get the opportunity to check out your website and look at your work. You have some very distinct styles, and this looks like it sort of it captured a little bit of almost a comic book style version, but certainly more of a sketch version versus more of a detailed illustration. Would you say that's a fair assessment? Or
yeah, I think I like did a more it was like I did a more like painterly approach to it. I didn't want to do I do a lot of like black and white work, but I did not feel that Star Wars was a very like black and white series. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I didn't want to only do black and white for it, which is why I was like, okay, I really want this to have color.
Yep.
And also because it just like color just like attracts more people anyways.
Yep. So
I was like, yeah, I want this to be colorful, but still like, I don't want everything to be super tight. And I don't want giant floating heads. Like I wanted to draw the characters' bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you decide which characters to put in there? Because I think it was what I loved about it was one of the things I loved about it was watching people react and sort of almost pick apart the work and be like, why is this character there? And, you know, so
that was so fun.
Yeah. How did you respond to that? How did you respond to the social media response? Because it's funny because I think, and the reason I reached out to you as soon as I was able to figure out who the artist was, I think it was you actually ended up posting that when you were able to finally announce it was you. Because so many people, you know, you can't write the word Star Wars without, you know, millions of Star Wars fans trying to figure out what that really means. But so tell me about how you decided what went into the poster, which characters, and things like that.
I personally, and I know, like, because I saw some of the social media reactions, like, I know that people have like a lot of opinions about episode 7 through like 9, but I wanted Rey and Co to be like kind of like front and center because, you know, to me, I really found Star Wars after I saw episode 7. Like I had watched, like as a kid, I watched, you know, the prequels and all of that. But it was I think like I was in college when I saw episode 7 for the first time with friends. And I just always remember like that experience of like going to the theaters and watching it with them as something just like really important to me. And because of that, like, that episode 7, 8, 9 were kind of like, you know how, a lot of people grew up with the prequels, or a lot of people grew up with, the others. Like, to me, episode 7, 8, 9 were the ones that I started really loving and appreciating Star Wars more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I wanted, Rey and like Kylo and, Finn and Poe, Rose to be in there first.
Yep.
And then the other characters, I did have trouble like deciding which ones to put in, because like they definitely wanted like a lot of characters to be in there.
Right.
So I asked like a bunch of my friends who really, really love Star Wars too. I was like, hey, can you help me choose like which ones, which characters you think like people would really like? And then so I got suggestions, and they were just like, oh, you should put Ventress in. Like, I actually have not watched Clone Wars, but they were like, you should put Ventress. A lot of people like Ventress. And, and I kind of went from there. And yeah, it was with the social media, that was really interesting, because I was told by my agency and also by Lucasfilm, I was told by them to like expect a certain amount of hate, just because Star Wars is like so big that, no matter what you do, there's going to be people who are just like going to not like it.
Right.
And who are just going to be like, hey, I didn't like how you drew Kylo Ren's coat, or, or something like that.
Yep.
And so I've already like mentally prepared myself for it. And so I did look at like a lot of the social media reactions. A lot of people they were just like, where's Obi-Wan? Like, and they were just like, they were so, like, I don't want to say angry, but they were just like, right. Oh my God, you put Rose in there, but you did not put Obi-Wan. Like, how could you? And I was kind of like, yeah, but I like personally, as an Asian person, I really like Rose, and I wanted to put her in there and not Obi-Wan, and I'm the artist. So, what I say goes, and like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm not sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's really important too. And it's interesting that it's funny. I have looked at that mural 1,000 times. Well, not 1,000 times, 100 times. And I didn't notice that Obi-Wan wasn't in there. I noticed the great swirl and movement and key characters, but I didn't notice Obi-Wan. I'll see now. I'm going to tweet about it and be very angry, but no, I'm just kidding. But interestingly, yeah, it's as somebody who clearly spends too much time on Star Wars conversations, it was interesting to me to see and really interesting for me to hear your perspective, because there were assumptions made about a direction, perhaps, that Lucasfilm is they want to show these characters and not those other characters. What are they trying to say? Is that the end of the original trilogy? Whatever, some sort of and I think people need to recognize that, and I love hearing you say that. I mean, it was the choice of the artist, and that's what made all those illustrations on May the 4th so interesting. Is it was the artist's choice, and as you said, when you're doing the Metallica piece, or when you're doing a movie piece, you're immersing yourself in that, and whatever touches you personally is what ends up in the image, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. There were. I got a lot of just like really funny messages about it. Just like, a lot of people being like, did you hit at Reylo? Because Rey and Kylo are like swirling around each other, or just like, what are you hinting at? Did they make you do this? Or, but no, like the vast majority of it, apart from some like placement things where they were just like my call, and with all of the artists who worked on their respective pieces, it was their sketches, their art directions, and yeah.
That's really cool. And then it became it was on Amazon, right? So like if somebody really wants a pillow with that mural on there, they can go buy it today, right?
Oh yeah, I have. I do.
Oh, there it is. So funny.
my pillow. I also have a tote bag with it. But yeah, so part of the collaboration included the collaboration with Amazon. So, like all the artists, you can buy our stuff as like pillows, tote bags, t-shirts, hoodies. I think there's like phone cases too, but for some reason mine wasn't a phone case. So,
and you brought up an interesting comment too, is how do you respond when inevitably somebody looked at your mural for the Star Wars, for the May the 4th thing and was like, that was awful, right? Somebody's going to say that no matter what. How do you, have you always been able to kind of just shrug it off and go with it and just move on, or does it affect even somebody like yourself now who, as you said, you've gotten your artwork in front of millions of people showing, doing different things. Does it still bug you, or have you learned to move on from it?
Yeah, I would say that I've learned to move on from it. When the Star Wars thing dropped, they told like all of the artists, they were just like, just so you know, Star Wars is big. So there will be people who will they might not like your piece, but just like focus on the positive and don't respond to any hate. Get notifications from, people who quote retweeted or just like retweeted and like tag me. And they were kind of just like, yeah, I really don't like this. Or just like, yeah, I really don't like you. I think someone was just like, I think you made R2-D2's head way too small. Or, oh no, it was BB-8's head. And, people were just like nitpicking the very, very tiny things. But it doesn't really affect me. Just because I feel like comments like that used to affect me, but I think it's something that you really you have to learn to deal with if you want to get your art in front of a lot of people. Just because it's very, if you let that kind of stuff affect you, I think it will kill you inside, because it's like, if you let that affect you, it means you're attaching your kind of like self-worth with your art, which I think is really, really unhealthy. And I think it's, as artists, I think we all have like a responsibility to kind of, treat ourselves with kindness. And also just like, and that doesn't only mean treat ourselves kindly, like physically, but that also means just like, at a certain point, you don't listen to the haters, turn off notifications, let them, if people like hate on it, that's their business, or like, that's their problem. Right. But it's not yours, because, you got paid to do this cool thing. So.
Well, yeah, I think at the end of the day, you can just be like, I did it. So let's move on. But it's, and I think that's the other thing too, is that art is so subjective, and I imagine trying to interpret things that are, it's one thing I would say to do a movie poster for a movie that nobody's seen yet or you're promoting, right? But I imagine it's a different thing when you're doing something that is now multi-generational, ingrained in the pop culture. So yeah, I can see where people would nitpick it, but to your point, and I think it's a common theme throughout our discussion. It's how did it strike you, right? And you weren't there, you weren't given technical plans for the size of BB-8's head. It was, this is the way it felt and looked and moved and stylized. So that's great.
This is Eric Walker, and you're listening to Around the Galaxy with Pete Fletzer.
So how has being the centerpiece for Disney on May the 4th impacted you? Has it led to similar types of requests, or was it just another gig, or what's this? How have you been since then?
Yeah, I did get, there was like a lot of attention on social media. And so, I got a ton of new followers, but also, well, I don't know if this is like directly related to Star Wars. I've been like the most busy that I have been in a very long time. Just like doing gigs and all of that. But I don't know if it's like related to like people seeing my stuff on May the 4th. But I mean, if it is, I'm really grateful for it. But yeah, it's like, to me, I kind of just treated it as another job, even though there were just like, I had bouts while I was doing it where I was kind of just like, oh my God, like a lot of people are going to see this. But yeah, it has been, I think the biggest, like the greatest thing that has come out of it is that, like I got a few emails from, people who, I got a message from like my high school teacher being like, I saw your name on Disney Plus. And, like I got an email from like a previous client being like, oh my God, they like credited you on Disney Plus. And so it's like the greatest kind of like accomplishment with that was just seeing kind of like the live reactions from, people I know in real life or people I've worked with who are just like, whoa, like that's on my TV or that's on my computer. I think a while ago, a family friend also came by and he was kind of like, oh yeah, my son, he's like obsessed with Star Wars and like he showed me your stuff on Disney Plus and I was like, whoa, that's Disney Plus. That's really cool. So, yeah.
You said something interesting before that your introduction to Star Wars was, or you really got into Star Wars, during the sequels tell me a little bit about your introduction to Star Wars. Did you follow it much as a kid or did it influence, did Star Wars influence any of your interest in film or entertainment?
Yeah, well, when I was little, I watched the prequels first when I was really, really young. And I remember I really, really did love, like the prequels. And that was it. I liked the prequels because I saw them when I was really young. I didn't really get the criticisms of the prequels until I, watched everything again years later. But it was actually, like I was someone who, like, I didn't really care about Star Wars until it was around like 2015, or it was when The Force Awakens came out.
Yep.
And I think it was that my two of my friends at that time, they were kind of like, oh, we should, during our break, we should go see Force Awakens together. And I was like, okay, cool, but I haven't seen Star Wars in like forever. What's going on? Do I need to watch all of the other films? And they were kind of like, wait, you haven't seen Star Wars? Like, you should just marathon everything. And so, okay, so back then I was a super big procrastinator, so I would just like always leave everything till the last day. So the day before we were supposed to go see The Force Awakens, I sat down and I watched every single Star Wars movie, and I pulled an all-nighter to like finish. And yeah, it's like that day just has been ingrained in me because I just absorbed, all of my Star Wars knowledge from that day. And then we saw The Force Awakens and I was like, wait, I really like Star Wars now. This is great. And so, yeah, like, I think that was kind of like the memory of just like seeing it, the memory of just like pulling an all-nighter for that day and then just like seeing it with friends, like having a good time, that really stuck out to me. And so I kind of just like associated, and I mean, plus I really liked the movie itself, so I kind of just like associated that movie, with having a good time. And, I did the same thing when episode 8 came out. Episode 9 I actually did not see until I got the Lucasfilm job. And so I watched episode 9 after, and yeah.
I think that's so important, and it's so interesting that so many of the guests. I mean, these are the conversations I've had for the last 2 years with guests, and we talk about what role it plays, and it's interesting. So many people sort of attribute it to their very early childhood or their a relationship with a parent or something. But I love that perspective. I love that Star Wars is about a night out with friends and just so much of that together, because that's where it comes from. That's where the positivity should be.
Right.
And so are the sequels, like, are those that's your Star Wars, I suppose? That's kind of where your entry point is.
Right. That was like really, because I got more into like the Star Wars world and like lore after seeing episode 7. So yeah, that was kind of my main entry point. And I remember after that, there was a period of time where I did like a lot of Star Wars art, and I might have been illegally selling it at conventions at that point, which I should not mention because I think it's like now illegal to sell Star Wars property if it's unlicensed.
So what's next for you? What's on the horizon? What sort of big projects do you have?
I do. So I have a few other big stuff coming up. I signed like a lot of NDA, so I don't think I can like talk about what they are, but I can talk about like what they like. I can say one of them, I'm working on a DVD release for I'm working on a steelbook it's going to be for a Japanese film, but I will not say what it is until it's released. But yeah, I'm doing another band poster for a singer from the 80s, but I will not say who they are until it's released. And yeah, I think I'm doing a few other just like alternative movie poster releases. But other than that, another thing, I've been doing some tattoo commissions as well.
Oh, really?
Which have been, they've been pretty new to me since I haven't really done tattoos before. But I recently started, and I'm having a good time. So,
so if you could choose if you had to choose one thing, whether it's movie posters or band posters or tattoos or murals, what's your favorite thing to work on if you had to sort of choose one to focus on?
I think movie posters probably. Yeah, just because it's to me it's really nice just like getting to see your work displayed for a lot of people around the world. I don't know if that sounds egotistic or anything, but I don't know. Like I just like to show my work to people, even though if they might not like it, I don't really care. But I really like that aspect of just like art that advertises something that like a lot of people can see it. Maybe it's on a website, or maybe it's on like a billboard, or maybe it's just like in theaters. So that's why I really like doing stuff for movies and posters.
Yeah, it's not egotistical. If you have the gift, you should definitely share it. And it does sound like you have some amazing projects coming out. Where can people follow you online and keep up with all this great stuff?
Yeah, well, my website, it's just my name. So it's vixu.co. And my Twitter and Instagram, I go by Ziquix, so it's spelled Ziqqix. But I'm mostly active on Twitter nowadays.
Excellent. Well, Z, this was so much fun talking to you and getting to know your story and hearing about your experience. And I'm so excited that I had the chance to talk to you about it. And I can't wait to see what comes next for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, this was like super exciting. So thanks for inviting me to do this.
Well, that wraps it up for this episode of Around the Galaxy. If you had fun, please like, subscribe, share, and review it. If you really had fun and would like to be part of the live virtual audience, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/ATGcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitter or all your social media at ATGcast, and go to our website, atgcast.com, for more information about the show, merch, and all kinds of great links. Around the Galaxy is copyright 2021 Pete in the Seat Studios, and our music is by the band Silver Colored Knob, which can be found wherever you find music.